Hey there. I have the most exciting person to introduce everybody to in honor of National Infertility Awareness Week that is coming up before you know it. So if everybody is ready, just maker that I can't wait for her to join us. And let's see who she is. There she is. Excellent. Hi, Carla. How are
Good.
you?
How are you?
Good, good. I'm so glad. I was just trying to tell people how incredible you are at what you do and like blew me away entirely. So, do you want to tell whoever's on a little bit about yourself?
Uh, sure. So I reside in North Central West Virginia. I have a 5-year-old son now. I keep wanting to say 4. He just turned 5.
Ah,
And,
congratulations.
yes, and I'm here today to talk about advocating for myself and others around me who are suffering with infertility, um, and all the things that come with it, because there are so many. It's not just infertility. I feel like everybody's story is so different. So I feel like we just need to really get into that and how you can
Yeah.
help yourself and what a community there is out there.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Well, we met because we're both working on Resolve's National Advocacy
Yes.
Day, which is coming up, and there is still time to register to be an advocate.
Yeah.
And so we are on a committee called the Reservist Committee.
Yes.
And so what we do is we really help people. We help the other committees that put together the day to support them, whatever it is that they need to get done. And I reached out to her and I said, so tell me, how come you're on here? Tell me about what you do. And she just like blew me away because what she did was she went onto the website for Resolve while she was going through a fertility journey, and she did not have coverage at work. And coverage at work is something that Resolve fights so hard for so many people. And there's so much legislation out there, and there's so much advocacy. And could you tell everybody how you just follow the steps
Sure.
on?
Yeah. So I'll just kind of start from the beginning. So when I was going through fertility treatment, so I suffer from secondary infertility, and
You know,
um,
people don't talk about secondary infertility too much.
they don't. And everybody's story, again, is so different. So mine's odd. So I had, after my first pregnancy, which was wild because it was a normal pregnancy, I got pregnant naturally, no problems. And my two after that were both ectopics. So
Mhm.
I ended up losing both of my fallopian tubes, which is technically now secondary infertility. I cannot get pregnant without assistance.
I'm so
Um,
sorry.
oh, it's okay. Thank you. So here we are. I immediately jumped into finding somebody that could help me who was local to me in North Central West Virginia. And immediately it was like $12,000 upfront, please. And I was just taken aback by that. So I started researching a little bit, and I somehow came across a friend who started using a clinic in upstate New York, and that was a 8-9 hour drive for me, and it was the only place that I could afford, and that was even, I could barely afford that. Nobody could. It's just, and so my work didn't cover anything. And at that point, I did not know that there was a whole community out there of people who were fighting for things like this. I thought I was, in a sense, alone. Um, and then I started to dig around a little bit, and that's when I came across Resolve, and which is this huge, huge nonprofit that helps people with this. And they have an entire, and this was my first round and of IVF, which ultimately did not work. So we
Sorry.
Resolve's website, and it was so easy. They have an entire workbook ready right there for you. And I did all of my research too, as to, the statistics, how many people are going through this. And then, then I post about it on social media, and I have more and more people reaching out to me. And then I have people here in my office. And here in my office, we have 80 people. And just so quickly, I can name at least 6 people who suffer with infertility and need help, and they couldn't get that. So with my research that I did, and then with the workbook that Resolve had, I just combined it all, spent forever on an email, putting an email together. And my first step was just sending it to our director of human resources, just getting it into his lap. And I, I was at a time where I felt comfortable enough to say, hey, listen, I'm comfortable to talk about this. If you want to know what has happened to me, if you want to know why my family building is at a halt, um, I will talk to you about that. And I will tell you why so many more people around you is having that issue too. It's statistics. It is what it is. And that was in of May of last year, so 2023. And ultimately, he has to take this to a higher committee within my firm. And he did that, and I found out in this past October that they were going to do full coverage. On top of that, they're also offering mental health for every employee. And
Wow, it's unbelievable what you've done. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And you just did this on your own,
yeah,
and you're bringing up so many things as you talk, right?
yeah,
Not just secondary infertility, which is huge, and people don't recognize secondary infertility. Many times they'll say, "Well, you already have a child." They don't understand how traumatic it could be and how hurtful and devastating. And you're bringing up also all of the loss, and you're bringing up the isolation, and you were able to do this and actually put it together where you said, wait, this isn't right, and then bring it to your company and affect change. And change it's not just coverage medically but also emotionally. That's unbelievable. I really haven't heard a story like this. And you never contacted Resolve, you just did it based on your research and the information
that's
provided. Yeah,
correct.
you're like a hero. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So really, the only thing it took was from me a little bit of drive. And I think that drive came from, I think, some of my emotions. I was so angry
Yeah.
that things weren't working out for me. Like, why? Like, I mean, because, and me as a woman, at least, I was putting everything on me. It was my fault. I was the blame. And it took me a long time to get through that.
Mhm.
So I think I just took all these emotions and I just put it into gear. Like, I'm not going to let this happen to other people, especially around me. Um,
Yeah.
so that's what I decided to do. And all I did was research and sent one email.
Wow.
And
The part that's so amazing, not everybody could do that. 1 in 6 is impacted by disability. And that's what the research shows. That means that, of course, 8 people in your company must be so grateful and have such gratitude towards what you've done. And you shared with me that you didn't get to benefit from it, but everybody else is.
that's right. That's right. I was, yeah. So we're done with treatments. We've decided to move on. I've gone through 2 rounds. It just wasn't in the cards for us. But
Oh,
what
God.
is important now is that my coworkers, and no matter what state they're in, they do not have to go through this worrying financially. They don't have to worry about the emotional toll that it takes on you, because there's just so much that goes into it. And really, bringing it to your workplace, it was such a, I'm so glad I did it. And um, I don't know if a lot of people here knows that I did it, and I don't even care. I don't want praise for it. I just want them to know that they have that, and then be done with it. It's all that matters.
Well, I always say that, when you go through this type of a journey, it's like a biopsychosocial impact, right? So, and the financial is so heavy, and people don't really think about that. But some people have to mortgage their homes,
Right.
to take a second job. I mean, I hear people taking their parents' retirement money, which is scary to me. There's just so much that goes into it.
So much.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why this is so important that there be coverage for it, because it is a medical condition and we don't think of it that way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did it to my company is I was diagnosed with the disease of infertility because it is a disease,
Yes,
and it's
it is.
not looked at it like that. It's not looked at like that at all. So,
No, no, and when we look at diseases and we look at illnesses, we have to look at the impact that
mm-hmm.
has, because it brings up trauma for
Yeah.
some, and it
Yes,
brings up a lifestyle that people are not used to around the medical field, especially when they're young, right? You're not used to having to go to doctors all the time and blood drawers and monitoring and injections. It's a very new phenomenon
yeah.
for people of childbearing ages when they're younger.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then the financial piece on top of that
Mm.
is so much. So
Um,
you've got this coverage at work, and what was the reaction, or how did they announce it? Because how many states is your company in?
we are in one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight,
You're in
eight states.
eight different states. So that means eight different types of legislation to look at,
Yeah.
or laws to look at, and coverage and parameters. So that this is a huge undertaking. And what was the reaction? Did people know that you were instrumental in it, or did anybody say anything?
Not many. A few in my office. I told just out of excitement that I'm close with, but otherwise, no. I just was fairly silent about that. I was more just happy that something went through.
Yeah, yes, you really did it to help others. Some people can't do that while they're going through it. They channel that energy in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
and then after they've reached the end of this fertility journey, then they decide they want to do something, because sometimes it's just too hard to do while you're going through
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we see very often. And so, what would you say to people if they want to do something to help or get involved? Like, because not everybody really is. I think you're a change maker, because you've impacted how many employees are within these offices. There must be a lot.
Yeah, I think overall we're between 800 and 1,000 employees.
Wow.
Oh,
So think if there's, let's say, 900, let's just average out 900 employees, and if one out of six women, are treated for some form of infertility, or access, treatment, maybe not treated, but access treatment. And I don't know how many women there are in your company, but let's say we split it in half in 450, and I'm not good enough at math to go through
wow,
the next piece.
your head, no me either. But that was not economical. Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
That's a lot of families that you're helping in your company, helping a lot of generations.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do people do this? How do people create change when they're not really ready? And you and I have spoken about that, right? Because some people can't take something like this on because it's a big undertaking. Even though you said all you did was write a letter and tell your story, your company's clearly was open to it.
Very much. Very
It's
much.
yeah, yeah, it really speaks highly of the company. Um, But what do you do when, you don't work for a company that is as open and receptive, or, it's just not your style to do something like that? You're more private, or
Or,
you don't really have that feeling like you want to go that route.
mm-hmm.
I always say start with your own circle.
Yes.
You know, you don't need to start with your um, your work life, but even just starting in your personal life, starting to talk about
Yes.
things and tell people about things, starts to destigmatize, starts to let people know that they're not alone, and create change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where it started with me. I mean, it was the first ectopic that I had. I just jumped right back into life. Um, I didn't take the time to think of like what happened there, And I think deep down I was really upset about it, and deep down I was like, man, this doesn't happen to anybody. Like,
Mhm.
why did just that just happen to me? Well, I have another two. Well, maybe we could try again. And I just kind of kept to myself. I didn't open up until after the second ectopic, and that's just kind of when things fell apart for me emotionally. And that's even, I mean, I kept it so to myself. I wasn't even open with my husband about it. I was, yeah, like at first. And he was the first person I opened up to, and it was, and he's a quiet man himself, and I'm not quiet, obviously. But
Right.
with him, I was very, very closed minded. And so I started talking to him about it. And then I started talking with my mom about it. And then my sister, and then a few friends, and then a couple more friends. And then I started looking on social media of different things. And then that's when I found somebody else like, oh, I know her.
Mm-hmm.
She, oh, and then we had a conversation. And then
Wow.
I found somebody else, and then we had a conversation. And so you're right, starting small is good, because then I found out the more I talked about it. And then mind you, this was 2 years had gone by, and it was just like I started just black, and then I just exploded like, people need to know about this, people need to know, people need to fight for this. And because then I started going crazy on the whole subject, and and it consumed my life for a while.
Very consuming.
Yeah,
And lots of times support groups help. If people don't have people that they can reach out to, I run a lot of support groups actually, and workshops. And people can't make a commitment to a support group. I find that workshops are helpful. So um, just knowing that there's other people out there
yes,
that do what
absolutely,
you do is so important,
yes.
or have gone through what you've gone through.
Mhm.
So you created this own network of your own.
Yeah,
That's
I did. I did. And it's not just people that go through secondary infertility. It's people that have had infertility issues and then they've gotten pregnant. It's, people in my circle that have recurring miscarriages.
mhm.
Um, excuse me. So it's a whole extent of things. Women that have endometriosis, PCOS. Sometimes it just doesn't want to stick. Yeah, I
Are you
mean, so
in a
stories.
group? Are, are you in a Facebook group now?
No, I'm not.
You're not. So this was just individual conversations you had with people as
Yeah.
you met them. Yeah. So the power of individual connection
Yeah.
and just talking to people and letting them know what's going on and letting them know the pieces that are important to you of what's going on is essential in so many ways. It really paves the way for change.
I hope so. Yeah.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it has really done that for you. So why did you decide to get involved with Resolve and Advocacy Day? What made you want to do that?
Because Resolve, even though they didn't know, they helped me so much getting coverage here at work just by, giving me tools that helped my research to help me ask. This was my way to give back to them.
Oh,
And
that.
yeah,
Well, they know now, just to let you know, they do know now.
here I am. Yes. Yeah,
I
they
did
knew
tell them, so they.
no, they knew nothing about it. I was like, well, I'm just going to give back to them how I can and do what I can, because little do they know, it really helped me with their resources. So, um, and hopefully, what I do can impact more people, more couples, more family working with Resolve. I hope that's the case.
I hope so too.
Yeah,
I hope so too. The organization really is there to help, and it's the largest, it's a national infertility association, and it's actually the largest one. And Advocacy Day is a day where everybody volunteers and they march on Washington. Basically, now they're doing it virtually, not physically, but everybody has an opportunity to talk to the legislation and let them know how they feel and what they've been through. And there is nothing more impactful than a personal story.
right. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
I'm glad. It's exciting and it's rejuvenating in many ways because it makes you feel as if at least you can be heard and then
Yeah.
figure out how to create change. So, I really appreciate your time so much today for coming on and letting people know how you did this. And, you make it sound so simple, but nothing through this process was simple.
No, it was 4 years I mean, I could tell you the whole story, but we'd be here for another 2 hours. But just know that it was 4 years of, um, there's tragedy, there was happiness, there was sadness, there was all the feelings, there was all the research, there, a lot of energy. And so now, I'm done with um, my personal journey, and I'm okay with that because now I have the platform to say, I went through this journey. This was 4 years. You're going through it too. Let me help you. Let's talk about it. Let's leave our mark, which is resolves, I think, hashtag for Advocacy Day, leave your mark. And that's what I intend to do. And I encourage other people to do the same. And, I understand that if you are quiet and shy about it, just again reach out to that little inner circle, because you know I have my sister, for example, who does not suffer through any of this, who has two beautiful children, no problem. And I think she's going to come and possibly just be with me and advocate for me that day. So it doesn't have to be just you. It could be a family member that sees what you're going through, that's a little bit more louder, you know
Absolutely. It could be anybody who,
and
is interested in trying to create change and let people know that they think that change is necessary and needed. So I absolutely agree with you. And it's wonderful that your sister can be there, not just as a support, but as an advocate to stand up for this.
yes.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that you had to go through so much of this alone and in silence. I'm sorry I didn't know you then, because I certainly would have been available to you. But Resolve also has peer support groups and peer-led support groups. And maybe something you want to do, I don't know. But they're wonderful that they offer that, both the professional, they have a listing of professional and peer support groups throughout the United States. And I'm kind of stressing people don't have to go this alone, but they don't realize it, right? You don't realize that those resources are there.
Right.
Like when you said you stumbled on Resolve, the part that bothers me a little bit is, geez, the doctors could have told you about Resolve.
Yeah, I got nothing. Yeah. It was literally just me researching, and there it was.
Yeah. Well, we were everybody, so many people, 1,000 employees, how many, ever many are women, are so fortunate that you did.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do. I'm really proud of what has happened, and I really hope it impacts so many here, because I do love this company, and um, I love the people I work with, and I know a lot of people. I hope a lot of people can say that. Like, I'm very happy where I'm at, so I'm glad I could make a difference here and in the other states as well. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, you paved the way, really, and your law firm could talk to other law firms, and so that could just be something that's a little contagious as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time from your day, and with the eclipse coming, everybody's busy. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but wear your glasses if you
I
can.
got my glasses ready.
Okay. Okay, good. You'll be all ready. And, for everybody who's there, if any questions, please let us know before we go off. I don't think so, that we just had some people join, but no questions, but maybe later on. But thank you all for joining, and thank you so much for coming on and telling your story. It really is so inspiring and impressive. I think you're just incredible. I really do.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, have a good rest of the day, and thank you all for joining
Bye.
today. Bye bye.